today, my colleague Dag and I, we're both evangelists at Microsoft, would like to introduce you to a couple of features for Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8. And that's going to be the part that Dag is taking over. And when he's finished, then I'm telling you a bit about the store opportunities that you have on our platforms. So, Dag, when you're
Thank
ready.
you very much. I think we need to stand on the scene because of the, what do you call in Swedish, randgång? You don't understand.
No.
I'm from Sweden, so you know that.
I'm not.
So I want to talk more about the platform for Windows 8 and Windows Phone, what kind of feature you can leverage from your game to do it even better, to attract more people and make them more addictive to your game. The first thing we have to see about Windows 8 and Windows Phone is, of course, the different form factors. We have everything from a desktop to a tablet to a laptop and, of course, to a Windows Phone. So we have a very large and differentiated Windows platform form design that you can leverage for your own sake. You can maybe do a game that are more a game for a desktop than for a tablet, or vice versa. Before we talk more about Windows 8 and Windows Phone, we need to see that there are some small differences between the Windows 8 and Windows Phone platform. The first thing is it's the same operating system. It's Windows 8 on both platforms. But it's not the same API on every level. And that's why you need to compile your games, one for Windows 8 and one for Windows Phone. We have project types inside Visual Studio that helps you to leverage the same code, the same features and the same functionality that you write for your game, so it will be available to run on both platforms. But still you need to compile it for both Windows Phone and Windows 8. The next thing is with Windows 8 and Windows RT. It has been a bit of a confusion about that. And the big difference is which processor is running on the machine. On the Windows 8, the ordinary Windows 8, it's an Intel-based processor. But on tablets and other machines, it's more an ARM-based version. If you run your app in C++, as Unity games do, you need to compile it to native code. And of course, you also need then to compile it to ARM code and Intel x86 code. But it's not anything different else. The difference from the consumer perspective is that Windows RT doesn't run old Windows 7 applications. You can only install application on the Windows RT from our Windows Store. And that's good for you because your games are in the Windows Store. On an x86, it's just like an ordinary computer. You can both install apps from the Windows Store and you can install apps the old way with the installer, whatever you like. So that's the two differences. Another thing we might to mention is that we try, when we designed Windows 8, not to be touch only. We couldn't do that. We need to be touch first. What that means is that we leverage more inputs than other platforms in the core. So for your sake, it means that you need to be able to use both touch and the keyboard and the mouse to work at the same time for your game. This is a part of a certification requirement. And of course, you can also use joystick and other peripherals if you want to, but you need to have touch and keyboard and mouse for your game. So let's go to some features inside Windows 8 that you can leverage, or at least that you need to take in consideration when you build your games. So the first thing is how our views are seen. As you know, in Windows 8, we can use or run several applications at the same time on the screen. To do that, we implement, or you implement, 2 view models in your app. One for snap view, when your app is in a small part of the screen, and one for fill view, when you are on the bigger part of the screen, and one for the whole screen. And you need to implement at least the snap view. And you can implement it in several different ways. For example, here is a famous game. On the right side, it is implemented as still is playable as a game. So you still can use it a game. On the left side is just a pause screen. And that's really okay to do that also. But you need to have a snap view in your app. Otherwise, it will not be qualified through the certification. Okay, more on the more fun stuff, tiles and notifications and toast. As you know, on Windows 8 and Windows Phone, we try to get the old static tiles or icons for your game to be alive. And we call it live tiles. So you have the possibility to make your tile so attractive, so it invites people to run your game again and again and again. And we have different kinds of tiles, just text tiles, we have tiles with images and so on. And please use them to make your game more attractive. For example, here we have 3 examples. On the right, we see that we have the number of stars we have succeeded to get in a game. On the middle, we see some information of the latest event. And on the right side, you see more information from the game. And you see that a tile can even be more than the tile screen, the tiles estate. You can switch the tiles estate also to get even more information. On Windows Phone, we have even more. We have 3 different tile sizes. One is a tile size all over the screen, start screen. One is half of the start screen, and one is a third of the start screen. And each tile have a front and a back, so you can do very many things with your tiles. Think also for this thing that you can have several tiles for your games. So like shortcuts from the start screen, you can go to different parts of your game directly from the start screen. So it could be, for example, that you are different players in your game. And each player could have their start tile with their scorecard on so weiter. So you can do very many things with that. Come on. Toast then. Toast in Windows 8 is displayed up in the right corner. And here you can display very many information. It's like the notification center on other platforms. On the Windows Phone, you get the notification up in the upper part of the display. And you can use that also. And how do you update these tiles? You can update them in several ways. You can update inside your app when you're running. You can update as scheduler, so you set an alarm and update on a specific time. You can do a background processing in your app on a periodic level and update your tiles. Get more information from example, internet or a web service and so on, and update your tiles with that. And the last thing you can do is to update your tiles from a server. So we have a push notification service that you with a REST call, and then these tiles or the toast can be updated on the machines that you pinpoint for the update. So you can do it in very many things. So let me show you some of these features here in the most common Unity program or app, AngryBot. So let me show you. Here is the Visual Studio project that Unity has built for us. And this is the version of Unity that built for Windows 8. And as you see, the only thing that are updated is on the main screen called main page XAML. And here we have a control that is the control that displays the Unity game. If you want to do things like update the tiles or something like that, you can do that here in Visual Studio. But, excuse me, let me start this. And the first thing I want to show is how toast notification is implemented. And here is implemented on the server side. So when I kill this enemy, I send information to Azure, and Azure sends a push notification back to this app that I have killed the enemy. So let me try to kill him. So there we have a toast notification. And you didn't hear that, but it was also here on the phone at the same time. So you can do that. So toast is very important, for example, for multiplayer games and such things. If we go out of this app, you see here on the screen here that we have also updated the live tiles with the newest score, with the newest hit. So even the live tile is updated. It's not especially nice, but you understand what I say. I will go back into the game. Sharing, well, that's not, let's go back. It was next demonstration. Okay. The next thing is to share information. In Windows 8, we have the possibility to be part in the sharing process. So you can both be the consumer of sharing of information that is shared to you, and you can be a producer of information that will be shared to other applications. So for example, we can use the settings charm. And the settings charm is when you draw your finger from the right edge of the screen and inside, you always get a menu system. And you should leverage that menu system and pull in your own settings pages on other kind of pages in that. So here you see that we have the settings page for cut the rope, and it's up there. You don't see it so good, but you see it here. So it's integrated in the system. It's not something that the user need to look for just for your app. Is it down in the menu system there and so on? It's on the same page, on the same place in every app. And we recommend that you do that. The next thing was shared contract. And here you can share information both as a consumer and as a producer. So you can say, I can be a producer that take information and put it on Twitter. I can be a producer that take information, send it on the email. And then if you, as a consumer, want to produce this, you just open and start producing, and the system checks if there is any apps that can consume what you are giving out to be shared. So it's really nice. And then, of course, we have on one place the search contract. So even on the charm, you know, from the right side of the screen inside, we have the search. And it's integrated in the system and in your apps. I don't know if you will use search, but it's integrated there, and it's really nice to have it also on the same place every time. And the last thing is the file contract. So if you, for example, want to integrate new levels and so on, we have a file picker for you that can pick locally and for example, on the internet, and get you the information, the level, the files that you need to do something in your game. So let me show you something here in the app again. So I open the app. And now I want to brag. I like to brag. So I go here, choose share. And here you see what share consumers, what app I have installed on my machine that I can share with. So I will take Metro Twit. And now an image of the screen is taken, and I can share it on Twitter. And it's shared. And you don't need to do anything. You just need to implement the contract, and the other app is responsible to hook up to Facebook, hook up to Twitter or email or something like that. Back to the presentation. I told you about XAML a bit before. It was a page called mainpage.xaml. And XAML is a very good technique to use for user interface design, especially when you want to do more boring user interfaces, buttons, menus, and such things. And you can use that in your Unity game also. Your Unity game is driven by DirectX, but you can use XAML to create pages inside Unity also. And we have very many controls that you can use here. And here is some example of these controls. So you know kind of controls you love, drop boxes, text boxes, button, and so on and so on. Let me show you how I should implement a button in the project I have done here in Unity. I open my Visual Studio project, and here is the main page, and here is XAML code, and XAML code is something like HTML, but a bit more, more feature. You have more features inside it. So I will try to build a button on the canvas of my game. In this, not a good example maybe, but I will vertical alignment. It will be in the center of the screen, horizontal line center. Width should be 700, height 300, text something high, Unity, like this. And we run the app again. So now you see, now you see we have implemented a XAML button that you can click on and so on. So you can leverage feature inside Visual Studio to do more of the boring, sometimes boring settings pages and high score pages and other pages that you don't like to do. On the server side, though, we will mainly talk about Windows 8 and Windows Phone, but I want to show you some things that Microsoft has that are really good for you as a game developers also. The first thing is Azure Mobile Services. You know, Azure started as a cloud platform 3 years ago. Very many things has happened since then. The latest thing that I prefer to use is Azure Mobile Services. And it's a really easy REST-based service that you can use to, for example, store your data. It has authentication built in for many authentication services like Facebook, Twitter, and so on. It's at a table structure that you can use, and it can automatically create tables for you where you can insert, search, and delete, and so on. Everything on the server side is done in Node.js. So you don't need to use C# or something. You need to just use Node.js to write server-side feature and functionality. You can also use push notifications from these services. You can do batch processing and so on. And it's really cheap. And you can scale it very large. And it's available today for iOS, Android, Windows Phone, and Windows 8. So look into it. And the last thing I want to show you is data roaming. For each app you have a small memory that you can roam to different machines. And it's roaming by your Microsoft account. So for example, if you have the app on this table, not this table, this tablet and this machine, you can roam some small information between these two machines. And we do that automatically for you. So you just have files and some files and so on. You say that I want to roam it, and it's done that for you automatically. So it could be settings, it could be which level you are, and so on. It's rather small, but you can use it rather wisely to get some synchronization between your app on different machines. Some of these features I talk about today, about live tiles, charms, and so on, is already available as plugins on the Unity Asset Store. So this is just two, Prime 31 and BitGray. So look into them if you don't want to write this yourself. And the last slide from me is just this slide. This is the only resource you need to remember. So if you have a phone, you can take a QR tag on this. And this is a one-day video conference that we had 2 months ago with the Unity and Microsoft guys at Corp. So it's a full day with information about how you develop for Unity on Windows Phone and Windows 8, what you should think about. For example, we have problems sometimes with hash tables, if I understand it correctly, but that's solved now, and other things. It's a very, very good resource to get more information about Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8. Thank you very much. Now it's Kristina and how you make money.
Thank you very much. Then let's switch over to my slide deck. And oh wait, that's wrong. Yeah, girls and technology and such. I'll be there with you in a minute. There you go. Awesome. Monetization of Windows Store games and Windows Phone Store games. Who of you has already a game in any store of your choice? Okay, so you have already been thinking about how you probably want to earn money or the most money with your type of game. We all have a very common goal, that is making great games and at the same time getting money out of them. So, for example, when I was tasked with setting up a mobile development department at another company, then we were looking at monetization or different types of apps and their monetization models. And back at the time, things were strongly driven by how to make money. That, unfortunately, kind of limited us a bit in our creativity. Because I had developers, I had game designers who wanted to make a really, really, really cool game. And I had product managers and marketers who said, yeah, but that doesn't really make any money. So the thing is, there is a lot of different business models out there, and you should really think about what kind of game you want to make first. Maybe think about how you could possibly monetize it a bit in the beginning, but initially it's all about the game. There are various types of monetization in real life. Let's start with a kind of purchases that you do maybe once or twice in a lifetime. You spend lots of money on it and you keep it for years and years and years. Like, for example, a house or a car. There's true value in it and you enjoy it for a longer time. Other things, like, for example, fruit or general stuff that we buy at the supermarket, we buy it once, we pay very little money for it, consume it, and then if you want to buy another apple or pear or peach or whatever. Maybe I should exchange the picture, actually. Or to be fair, put on some apples, some blackberries, some windows as well. Anyway, so if you want to if you want to buy some fruits, you eat them, and if you want to eat more fruits, then you have to buy some more again. So that's miniature purchases. And then you've got the free types of enjoyment. Is anyone from you from London? Okay, there is a free newspaper. It's called The Metro. I've seen it in Stockholm in the trains as well. It's a bit of a tabloid. It has sensational stories and lots of ads. So you get free content that is ad-supported as well. That transfers into real life as well. Or not real life, software life. So you have paid downloads For example, here you see the dashboard screen if you want to do a paid app where a user pays money to download the app once and can play it for a long time. Like, for example, also when you go to a store and purchase a hard copy of a game. You have different price tiers. You see them, you see some of them. It's going from, on the Windows Store, it's going from $149 to $999. And it's converted into each relevant language, currency. You have 191 markets that you can publish your games on. You can choose which market you want to go for. And if you like, you can set different pricings for each market. Or you can have the store automatically translate or convert the prices, depending on how much effort you do want to put in, if you want to do a regional offering, whatever. So the tiers are localized, like I said. And one thing that is different on our platform is we do have the same 70-30% revenue share model. However, if your app makes more than $25,000 in its entire lifetime, then you keep 80% and we keep 20%. So the revenue share changes a bit. So one thing that we were working on was how to create the best app experiences for one IP. So we had one world, one IP, and we wanted to create different types of apps, and we wanted to monetize it. Let's take the beautiful cow from Cow Clicker and take it to the pay-to-download level. This is how it would look. You get the high-quality experience. You pay for it maybe 15 euros or something around the lines. And yeah, that's awesome. For once, the internet works. For the entire duration of the show, I had huge problems with instant messenger for work, and now it works. Isn't that brilliant? Anyway, let's go back to the AAA title. So the monetization is pretty clear. And here. Then the next type of thing would be something like multiplayer games where you have a subscription. You can do that. You can have renewable subscription where the user pays once a month or once a year and can play your game for the duration of the game. And on top of that, you can make it even a more lively experience. For example, through in-app purchases. So you can sell skins, accessories, furniture items, whatever, so that your world looks actually a bit more fun and more lively. And yeah, that's like a world of Moocraft, or something like that. There are two types of in-app purchases. There's the consumables and the durables. Consumables are very typical items for one-time consumption. So you buy it, you use it, and then you have to rebuy it. It's pretty much like the fruit that I was talking about earlier. On the other hand, you can have durables, like, for example, a game subscription. An item that is valid for a month, 2 weeks, a year, or forever. That is perfect for level packs, for example. So you have a single-player game that you've worked on, you put in a lot of effort, and you want to do upfront payment. But you think, okay, it's not fair to charge too much for it, but at the same time, if you keep putting effort into it, at some point, you are worried about where does the next money come from. And what you could do is you could sell future level packs as in a purchase, for example. Then if you don't want to charge the user directly, you could obviously always use advertisement. There are different kinds of advertisement. If you use our SDK, you can use just text ads, you can use image ads of different sizes. The important thing on this part here is, I think, to put yourself in the position of a player. Actually play the stuff that you're developing. Look at the interface you're designing and enable the ads. See if you can bear playing it, bear looking at the ads while playing without them disturbing you too much, while you're not ignoring them totally because you kind of want to have some revenue from that as well. Same goes to the in-app purchases and the pricing model, by the way. Think about how you feel as a player. Do you pay 15, 16 euros for a game? Or do you continue playing a game when you run into a wall after 5 minutes and you can't continue playing unless you pay? I had that problem with Tiny Towers, not after 5 minutes, but 20 minutes. It was, okay, you have to wait for 3 hours now before you can continue playing, or you pay for the immediate finishing of constructions. And after getting that message for about 3 times, I was fed up and put the game away. I'm not a big fan of paywalls. This is a real-life example of advertisement. It's integrated into the Mahjong app. It's just on the menu. You don't have it in the actual game screen. Like I said, you can have it in different forms and sizes. You can actually also design the background that it looks more integrated into your app if you just have a text-based ad, and so on and so on. It's important to put in a bit of effort that it doesn't look completely out of focus or misplaced. It should be a nice and round experience for the user. And this is how it looks for in-game purchases. So you have the little menu in the background. It's from a game called My Country. There it lists a bunch of coin packages. And if you click on one, then you get a little banner that asks you to confirm your purchase. On the phone, it looks pretty much like that, and you get another screen asking you to confirm your purchase. It's pretty straightforward. It's the same on every platform, I guess. So the first thing is the same, the transaction types. I mentioned them earlier about the localized tiers and the revenue share model. One thing that is very different, though, is that you can either use our SDK. However, if you want to, you can also use your own payment infrastructure or a third-party infrastructure, as long as they have an SDK available and comply with the laws and everything. But if you have, for example, the last company I was working at was a browser games company, a large one, and we had our own payment system. So we couldn't ask the users for money because it was technically absolutely impossible for us to connect that payment system to the iTunes Store at that point. What you can do now is you can make an SDK or you can integrate your payment infrastructure into the games directly, so you don't have to go through our transaction processes. And in that case, you keep all the revenue and share it with other payment service providers, depending on who you work with. And another thing that we have is called the trial mode. That applies to those upfront payment type games. I mentioned, you don't want to pay 15 euros for a game before you try it. And that's actually true. What you can do is you can implement a trial mode. And on the purchase screen, the user will see 2 buttons, buy and try. And he will see the price. If it's a more expensive game, or app, whatever, then the users will be more hesitant to just download it and give it a shot, because even 5 euros, even 4 euros is a lot of money on an app store. And statistics have shown that there is a 70 times higher download rate when you implement a trial mode, for which the conversions are higher then as well. And when I was working as a project lead, I was thinking about buying a software called iThoughts. It's a mind mapping software that comes at 16 euros, and there was no way of trying it out. There was no test mode, no free mode, nothing. Just the pictures. And personally, I found myself very hesitant to buy something just based on pictures. And it was only 6 months later that my former boss let me use that app on his tablet, that I finally bought it myself as well, because I could try it. And when I look at myself playing games, then I download a lot of trial versions, play them, and as soon as I hit the first, you could have gotten an achievement if you buy the full app. I download it, and I get to continue playing the game. I don't need to download the entire app in itself. It's just a matter of licensing update. There's 2 different versions of trials. There's the time-limited trial and the feature-limited trial. The time-limited trial is super simple. You go to the dashboard of the store where you submit the app. And this is a smaller version of the screen that I've shown earlier. You select the price, and you can choose if you want to do a trial period. So you can pick, there is no free trial, so it's only for purchase, then a never expiring trial, and anything between 1 and 30 days. If you select a time-limited trial, then the conversion is super easy because you just need to check for the license. And that's just a couple of codes. It's very little work involved. But you could, if you want to do the experience a bit richer and more according to the trial, like, for example, implementing call to action buttons in every corner, or saying that certain levels only unlock in the full version of the game, then you add the feature-limited trial. What some colleagues of mine did, for example, was they had trials that never expired, and the app only differed by advertisement. So the trial version had ads in it, the other version didn't. But it's still the same app. It's the same app in the store, it has the same ratings, it's not two different kinds of app IDs or anything, it's the same thing, and the user doesn't need to download or start the games from scratch. That's what I find worst. If I start a game, hit a point where I want to buy it, and need to think about whether I want to start from scratch or not. So, yeah, this is as an overview, the type of payments that you can do, or the type of monetizations. Like I said, the one-time purchase combined with the trials. We strongly advise to try and implement the feature-based trials, the feature differentiated trials. You can do in-app purchases with either our SDK or your own ecosystem. And you can do ad-supported games. And the in-app purchases either via consumables or durables. Right, further information. The dashboard, the stores are on devwindows.com and devwindowsphone.com. Some documentation is on msdn.com, as well as channel 9 that Dag linked earlier on. If you're a student or a startup, then you can get a lot of tools, as well as developer licenses or store licenses for free via BizSpark and DreamSpark. And obviously, there's the unity3d.com where you can get the Unity SDK, which, as we all know since yesterday, lets you develop for mobile platforms, including Windows Phone and Windows 8. It's both platforms for free. Right, well, that's it from my side. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, then feel free to come and visit us. Does anyone have any questions right now? Otherwise, I'll just, yes.
You mentioned in order to get the game, the certification process, it needs to have both touch and mouse keyboard support. But what if the game has multi-touch support? Like you need to use multi-touch for the game. How do you get that?
It's a very good question. I don't know the answer right now, but we can discuss it afterwards. Maybe we can look in the certification rules and see.
There is it's also good to know that there are some restrictions and some clear restrictions on apps in general, but games are sort of an exception to the thing. You need to comply with most of the requirements, but if the game design requires a couple of things, and if users are stuck to a PC with keyboard and mouse, still have a way of somehow playing the game, then it's a matter of discussing with the store team and with the evangelists from your country. But it's, it depends on each app.
We can always discuss that, I think.
Any further questions? Yes.
Just a quick question. Is there any way to publish only on the phone?
Yes, there are two different stores.
So it also relates to his question. So it's possible to publish only on the phone with touch control, and you don't have to worry about keyboard.
Because there's two different stores. So the Windows Phone store is independent from the Windows store itself. But in the Windows store, it's for both the tablets and other devices.
And of course, the certification rules I mentioned was for Windows 8, not Windows Phone.
Yes.
The time-based trial period, is that also available for Windows Phone, or will that come?
Yes, it's available on Windows Phone.
Because I didn't find it. And you said it's up to 80% what you pay for the developers. Is that available for Windows Phone? Because I heard from Microsoft that it's only on Windows 8 and RT.
The 70/30 and 80/20?
80/20, they said it's only for 8 and RT, not for phone. Is that right? Or
Come afterwards and we'll look
Yes.
into it. I presumed it was for both, but when you ask,
Okay.
I need to check.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do the developer get charged to releasing patches like on the Xbox and PlayStation?
You can just, the only thing you need is a developer license, and either you get it for free through one of the two programs, otherwise for your Windows Phone it's $99, for Windows 8 it's $49, and then afterwards every app submission is free. So that includes patch submissions, of which I've done quite a few. One thing is you can also submit your app as a beta mode, for example. So the certification process, it's much faster if it's just about getting it out to a limited amount of users for them to test things out. And there, you can just submit things.
If you really want, you can also submit apps to a local community without going through the store.
Yeah.
With a certificate that you can install and distribute to the phones that you want to be able to load your apps. So some of the game developers do that to get to more simpler and broader beta distribution.
Further questions? Well, in that case, thank you very much and see you around.